Peace.
Peace.
This is Jahshamel, Mr. PhD. You're just now entering the cipher called Real2reel360. K-Wise.
Peace, God.
Bring that beat in, kid.
Indeed.
Peace.
Yeah. What's going on, party people? Welcome to the Real2reel360 show. Let's get it in. We do the knowledge and wisdom so you can understand. Real2reel360 shows in full command. We changing the game for how it all was taught. From bondage to freedom to an independent thought. Yo, the show is here to bring about a change for real. To lighten everyone so we all know the deal. 360 degrees is a fact. We created the show to give our love back to our communities so we can know what's going on and give them the support from knowledge to born. So if you're ready to learn, then it's time to go. Sit back and relax and enjoy your show. Peace. Peace and blessings to everyone. Peace to Allah's mighty 5% nation, the gods and earths. To all the human families on the planet Earth, I give you a high salute of love, peace, and happiness. This is DJ K-Wise, a.k.a. Kato, the black superhero, one half of the Real2reel360. And listen, we got a dynamite episode show for you this evening. So kick back, lay back, grab your pen and paper, and take notes because the show is going to be a fire. But I'm about to bring on my co-host with the most, none other than my brother in God, Jahshamel, a.k.a. Mr. PhD himself. Peace to the living.
Peace, peace, peace to Allah's 5%. Peace to all our followers and listeners and those who have been subscribing to our YouTube page. Please like and tell a friend about the contents that you have been listening to. Today, we're going to have a great episode. It's going to be aligned with Alison. And Alison is a dating and relationship coach who deals with women and teach them how to become better in relationships and how to maintain them. At this moment in time, can you please bring Alison on, okay?
Good evening. Good evening.
Peace. Good evening. How are you?
We're doing great, Queen. How you doing today?
I'm all right. I'm maintaining. Just had a baby 7 weeks ago and just figuring it all out.
Oh, congratulations. Congratulations. I had a baby.
She's growing. You know how newborns do. You know all they do all day long. So eat some other stuff. Eat, sleep, and some other stuff.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, this young lady right here is aligned with Alison. And we're going to let her introduce to you what she does and what she brings to the table and how she can help you when finding a relationship and maintaining one.
Yes, absolutely. So thank you so much, Dr. PhD, for introducing me. You already said what it is. My name is Alison. I am a certified dating and relationship coach. I also have a master's degree in counseling, and I primarily work with single women to help them find the love and commitment that they deserve. But it's not only about finding love, it's also about being able to maintain healthy relationships moving forward. So that's the work that I do in our community.
Now, when you talk about finding the love and maintaining it, what are some of the things that you run across with people when they talk about they haven't found the love that they're looking for, or that they're in a relationship and they don't know how to really keep the balance in it so they can keep it maintained? What is the obstacles that you run into with them?
Absolutely. So the first and biggest obstacle with single people, those who are not in relationships yet, is that they haven't poured into putting in the effort to find someone or to be found, however you want to put it. You know, some people are real particular, like, I'm not searching for nobody, I got to be found, whatever, right? However you want to put it, but not putting in the effort. So if you are investing, you've invested your 20s in your career, you've invested your 20s in throwing yourself into your education, and then you're surprised when you're in your 30s and now you don't have any experience and you don't know how to navigate and you really haven't given anybody a chance, then there you go. And this is not to say that women shouldn't be formally educated. It's not to say that women shouldn't be invested in their career, but it's when it's all you think about and all you focus on, right? And then now you look up and you're 33 and you've made partner at the law firm. That's great, but you're feeling lonely at home. That's the biggest issue, is that we're not finding a balance. We're not saying, okay, yes, I have my own goals and desires, but I also desire to be a wife. I also desire to be a mother. I also desire to be a partner. Let me find time for both. We're not doing the balance. We're throwing ourselves into our education and career, and then we're surprised later on when we have such a hard time. That's for the single folks. That's the biggest obstacle. For the folks who are already in relationships, I think one of the biggest issues that they face is that folks are not listening. They're not listening. So a lot of times the issue isn't that even grand. It's not even that big of a deal, but either we were on our phones when the person was talking to us, or we heard what we wanted to hear because we already coming in with our own trauma. So we exaggerate and make things bigger than what they need to be. When we don't listen, we misunderstand. And that's what causes a lot of conflict.
Mm-hmm. Well, like going to the part with the single people, and then I'm going to go into the relationship. As far as single people is concerned, do you feel that not just the job, but their own social circle kind of hinders them? Because I noticed that lately it's been a lot of girl trip, a lot of guy trip, and it's not a lot of couples trip. And it's not like when they go out there actually looking for a spouse or anything of that nature, they're just looking to hang out with the same sex. So do you think that that can be an issue as well?
I think that that's a result of frustration as built up over time, where folks are feeling like, well, I can't find anybody, so let me just hang out with my guy friends. Let me hang out with my girlfriends. Let me hang out with the people that I know aren't going to hurt me or break my heart or do anything to me. They're my friends. I've vetted them. We're not together romantically, so I'm not concerned. So I don't think that it's the girls' time, the guys' time that's causing problems. I think the problem exists. And as a result, people are then turning to their friends as like their main source of connection. And that's not practical, right? Like your friends, they're lovely people, lovely human beings, couldn't live without them. But that is not the same, and it cannot replace what a romantic partner can. So it's more of a result than a cause, if that makes sense.
Right. Now, also, I was going to ask, and I'm still going to ask, but do you think that people equate lust for love and don't know the difference, and they get caught up with that?
I don't think in our age bracket, folks who are 35 plus, 40, 50, I don't think that we have that difficulty. I think that's something that we all go through when we're younger, where we can't differentiate between love and lust. I don't think that's a big issue. I think similar to what you're saying, though, I think a bigger problem is that we don't know how to, one, listen, problem solve, right? And really come and meet each other in the middle. Folks want what they want, when they want it, how they want it. And many times they're not willing to meet folks, and they're not willing to compromise and meet their partner in the middle. So if I'm going to do this, then you're going to do that. No, it's I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do this, and you're not going to say nothing, and I don't want to hear your mouth, right? And that's especially problematic the older that people get. So the older you are, the more stuck in your ways, the more accustomed you are to living your life the way that you've lived it. And so it is legitimately hard. Like, you're not even trying to be difficult. Like, it is hard to adjust. If you're 45 years old, you've been living by yourself for 20 years, right? 20 years you've been living by yourself, moving how you want to move. You never had to explain yourself to anybody. And then now the expectation is that you're home at a decent hour, that you're checking in with someone. And it's not because they're trying to check you, but it's because they're legitimately concerned, especially you Black in America. They're genuinely concerned about your well-being and making sure that you're okay. That's a hard pill to swallow.
Let me ask this. You mentioned earlier, first thing you said was helping people find the love for them or themselves. What about first making sure that they love who they are inside as a person?
Yes, absolutely. So as a coach, I don't deal with that, but I'm going to tell you why, and it makes sense. So a coach takes the team, they take the player that they have, right? And they work with that player to get them through the season in the hopes that they make it to playoffs, finals, and they win the chip, right? Now, that's the coach. A therapist is going to go back and is going to figure out why you dribble the ball that way. Who's the one who taught you how to handle? Is your jump shot right? Like, they're doing those kind of corrections. So, and I hope that I'm not a sports person, but I hope that kind of makes sense, right?
I got exactly what you said.
Okay.
Honestly,
I'm like how you flipping the narrative with it, though. It's good. It's good.
Hey, no, I was going to ask who her team was, because she gave all the basketball. You know,
from the middles and everything.
My husband is a dedicated Knicks fan, so I roll with him, and they're doing good this season. So
that's my dude. He true Knickerbocker. Yeah. That's my dude.
So the therapist. So going back to your question of loving yourself beforehand. So once I work with somebody, they've either already been through therapy, or I've given them an assessment, and based on my assessment, I believe that they're prepared to date. But you're absolutely right. Everybody's not prepared to get on the scene. If you're still holding on to baggage and traumas and mommy issues and daddy issues and abuse from the past, and you're trying to get back into the scene and thinking that you could date in a healthy way, that is not realistic. That's when I say, you know what, you may want to consider therapy to do an internal assessment first, working on yourself first, and then if and when you're ready, you come to me, and then I get you on track.
So how does that work for someone to say, okay, I think I'm ready to be in a relationship now? So you're saying prior to establishing the full relationship, come to you, or, you know, I'm trying to get the gist of what are you saying when you say when you're ready to come see me? How does that person determine they're ready to see you for this love relationship coaching?
That is an excellent question. So someone literally just DM'd me that today. She said, I want to work with you, but I know how you are, Alison. You know, you a hardback West Indian from Brooklyn. You give people a hard time. I don't want to work with you unless I'm ready. So how do I know that I'm ready? She said, I'm in therapy. So my first question is, how long you been in it? She said 2 months. I said, oh, do you like your therapist? Are you guys getting along? She said, yes. I said, are you really working out your issues? Are you telling her the truth, right? Him or her? Are you telling? A lot of people go to therapy and they don't tell the truth. And then they're surprised when they don't get the results. I said, okay, so this is what I want you to do. I want you to go to your next therapy session. I want you to tell your therapist, you let me know. You're the professional. You let me know. I really want to get back into the dating scene. I found a coach that I like and I want to work with her. Do you think that I'm ready? If I'm not, then tell me what I need to do. What parts have we not worked out yet? Your therapist is the professional. Your therapist is going to say, well, girl, we just started and we just scratched the surface on the conflict that you have with your mom, on the fact that you feel like she abandoned you. You know, we just scratched the surface and you're still telling me that you're looking for texts and phone numbers from your ex. So based on what you're telling me, I don't think that you are ready yet. Let's give it a couple more months. So I am not a licensed therapist, right? I take the team that I have and I get them to the end. I'm not going backwards and fixing stuff from the past, right? So I always recommend, or not, I shouldn't say fix, I should say work on, right? But I always recommend you should either be through therapy or I give an assessment myself to be able to see if someone is prepared. And if they're still hanging on an ex, if they're still putting all the blame on their last relationship as to why things went wrong, if they are, if they feel as though they're unsure if they can commit, if they feel like they're unsure if they can trust again, like just giving trust, like, can I trust someone who proves to me that they're worthy? I don't know, Al, I'm not really sure because the last guy, well, then you're not ready yet. If you're going to blame the new dude for what the old dude did, you're not ready. If every time your phone rings and your heart drops because you're hoping it's your ex that's calling and reaching out, then you're not ready.
Exactly.
Now, how do you see that a lot of they have different ways to start your dating process now? You have dating services and dating sites, and you also have speed dating, which is becoming popular. How do you see that an individual who needs to work on themselves going on to these sites and these events, these speed dating events?
So again, you need to work on you first. We have to resolve those issues again, with parents, with anything, especially if there's any kind of like sexual trauma from the past. Like, you need to seek help in that regard. And even if you think like my parents are good, I've never really been through anything, go to a session 1 or 2, get some reflection on who you are and what you're looking for and areas where you can improve. Like, everyone hasn't been traumatized, right? Like, we just like to throw that word around, but just some quirks, some things I could work on being a little bit more patient. I could work on being a little bit more understanding. I could teach me ways that I could listen better, right? So you do a couple sessions, if nothing else. Now that you've done that work or you're doing it. So my recommendation is not that you just stop therapy because you're done, you're fixed, you're perfect. You're never going to be perfect. You're going to die imperfect, right? But you're working on yourself, then yes, you should be going to those events. Go to social outings, go to the speed dating, get on a dating app, go out with your friends, go to the pool, the pool night, the game night, the golf, all that kind of stuff. Get to know people, socialize, and then you have conversations and you can assess if someone's a good fit for you or not.
Now, I don't know if people understand really how their childhood and what they went through inside their family dynamics can affect them as far as in relationships. So can you explain how that may, because have touched on the basis of going to see therapy, seeing what the trauma is, and being able to recognize it. So a lot of people might not understand when you say, make sure you see a therapist first because you're bringing baggage.
Mm-hmm.
So could you explain that, how that dynamic might affect them and they don't even know it?
Yes, your childhood has a huge impact on the way that you function as an adult. I mean, it's kind of just like common sense, right? Your childhood is your foundation. So you can't build a solid house if your basement's falling apart and caving in, right? You got to make sure that the foundation is solid, and that's your childhood, your formative years, the years that you form, right? And so if you have a poor relationship with either one of your parents, then that is definitely going to have a negative impact on the way that you function in your relationship. Let's look at the same sex. So we're looking at a girl and her mother, and a boy and a father. And again, I'm not a therapist. This is just based on my experience, right? Talk to a professional. But a girl and her mother, and a boy and their father, they are a reflection of who we would like to think who you want to be, right? Mommy looks like me, daddy looks like me, mommy got my parts, daddy got my parts. So that means that this is what I should look up to and look towards. And if either one of those parents is not functioning in a way that's healthy or safe, then you're going to have a poor idea of how you should be functioning, right? So let's say the little girl and her mother. The mother is erratic. The mother is unstable. The mother has a lot of men who are coming in and out of the house. Then what kind of example is that going to set for the child? If we're talking about a boy child with his father, the father's in and out of the house, the father's absentee, the father's potentially abusive, then what are we teaching that young man? That's same sex, right? Now let's look at opposite sex. So a little boy to his mother, and a little girl to her father. Then it's going to be, well, this is the type of person I should be with, right? This is the example of manhood. This is the example of womanhood. So now when I'm getting into the dating scene, if I have a corrupt image of what motherhood or femininity or fatherhood and masculinity looks like, right? And again, there's lots of different ways it can look, but it needs to be healthy. It needs to function. If I have a corrupt way of seeing that, then that means that dating may potentially be a lot more difficult for me. If I'm a young lady, I might be seeking the attention of multiple men because I never got it from my dad. If I am a boy who didn't have his mother in his life, or the mother was, her behavior was questionable, now that means I might date women who are similar to my mom, right? Trying to fix her, trying to correct it, and it might not be even on purpose. It might be subconscious. But definitely the way that you are raised, especially with parents, is going to impact the way that you function in romantic relationships as an adult.
I want to make sure I interject on this real quick because I want people to know, and this is an outstanding platform which we're having right now. So if you have any calls or questions or concern that you want to ask Ms. Alison, please, by all means, dial our calling number, which is 336-807-9299. Again, 336-807-9299. You can call in and ask Alison. She's on the hit right now. You got it while you can. You better get it.
Get it while it's free. Right. Get it while it's free.
Definitely, you heard her. Get it while it's free.
Get it while it's free. That's right.
She told you she was a West Indian from Brooklyn, so that you know nothing is free.
You got 5 jobs.
So how does one balance with relationships versus job, family time? Because most of the time, a lot of people, when you do come in together in a relationship, you got these holidays where, I need you to be with me and my family at this time, or we'll go to you and your family this time. So where is the balance of somebody who say, listen, that's not for me? You know what I'm saying? But I'm just, and you like that person, you're in that relationship, you have to respect each other's boundaries or what each one stands for. So how does that fill in a relationship coach matter?
Yes, absolutely. So it is delicate, and there's no perfection. This is going to be something that potentially both parties are going to be working on hopefully for the rest of their lives if they're committed to each other for life, right? But again, that goes back to the listening. So when we talk about what are your values, I'm going to listen to you and you're going to say, babe, every single year we go over to grandma's house. It's something that's really important to me. I know you're not really crazy about the crowds, but do you think you could sacrifice this one Thanksgiving? And then next year I'll leave you alone and then we'll revisit it, right? So really making an effort to listen to the value. It's not about, I want to show you off, but this is a tradition, right? We're listening to the key. The tradition is we go to grandma. Could you think you could give me 3 hours? Could you give me 3 hours? And if this person is like really unable, then we need to dig a little bit more. Like, come on, son, you can't give somebody 3 hours on one day, one time, and talk about, all right, so, and this might be a little transactional, but so what can I do for you? I really need you to come with me to grandma 3 hours on Thanksgiving. I know that you don't like the crowds. All right, let's do an exchange. So what's something I don't like? I'm not that great about cooking. I got you for the next 2 weeks, your favorite dish, right? So finding some kind of in between, that's a balance that I would highly recommend. And again, it's a little transactional, but hey, if I'm gonna get what I want, which is you at grandma's, and you're gonna get what you want, which is your favorite meal for the next 2 weeks, then everybody's happy. So trying to find that medium is listening to the values. Like, why is this important to you? It's important to me because it's a family tradition. All right, I can respect that. I can suck it up and I can do this for you, right? So listening to the true issue at hand and then meeting each other in the middle.
Now, you had spoke about relationships and parties being, the older that they get, they're set in their ways. Mm-hmm. And how do you start? Because you notice that there's a lot of older single individuals, male and female, in their 40s and 50s. And they're still out dating and things of that nature. How can you get to the point where you can work through that and compromise and be open and be transparent, you know what I'm saying, while you're in a relationship? Because like you said, a lot of people are set in their ways and they figure they're not going to change it. How can you get your spouse to compromise?
So this is what it boils down to, right? And this goes back to coaching. You know, when a coach, I think it's called a visor. Is that the thing that's in the front of the mask for right? When they grab your visor, this is what it is. You are feeling lonely. You want a relationship. So you can either choose to continue to live the lifestyle that you've been living for the last 45 years as a single, handsome man who's getting all these girls, but no kind of value, right? Or you can choose to give some of this stuff up so that you can get the relationship that you say that you want. Each person has to decide what is more important to them. Is the bachelor lifestyle more important to you than the committed relationship? You have a woman that's by your side. You have someone that you can rely on and count on. Or do you want to just mess with a whole bunch of girls? For the ladies, you set in your ways. You're 40 years old. You've been living like this your whole life. Maybe you have adult children who's moved on. You're finally free. You don't want to answer to nobody, right? You have to decide what's more important to you. Is it more important that you continue to live this single lifestyle where you're free as a bird, or you came to me, you said you want a committed relationship? This is what a committed relationship is going to require, right? So, and you're not going to be nasty. I can talk like that, right? Because I'm grabbing the visor. But in your relationship, you're not going to talk like that because you don't want to come across as nasty or rude. So it's going to be, look, babe, in every relationship, same message, but sweet. Babe, in every relationship, there's compromise, right? And I'm not trying to throw this in your face, but you know I'm not really crazy about going over at grandma's. We go over every Thanksgiving. And you know I wasn't that crazy about moving out to Long Island, right? But you know, you wanted the bigger house, so we did that. So now I'm asking you, I need you to do blah, 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 blah. So let's figure this out. So what you're gonna do is you gotta decide which one, what's the priority? Is the priority that you continue to live the life that you've been living? Clearly not. Not if you hired me, or not if you got into this relationship. You decided that romance was more important. So if you decided that romance is more important, then yes, you're going to have to check in and say, babe, it's midnight, I'm on my way. Or you're going to have somebody who's going to be like, yo, did you take your medication today? Getting on your nerves. They're trying to save your life. Or babe, do you really need another beer? Yeah, that's annoying. It's annoying because they love you. They want you to live. They want you to be. They want you know what I'm saying? So you got to decide. And if you decide that that's too much, someone trying to check you or tell you what to do is too much, then cool. End the relationship and continue to live how you've been living. If not, then you got to just roll with some of the punches.
Right. And you know, moving to Long Island, I think would show that they love you, because you know Long Island is a very nice place to live.
Absolutely. I'm throwing that back in your face since you left Brooklyn.
I see that. I see that.
I have a question with it. And saying, because right now, statistics show that in the United States, there's more divorces than marriage. And so in your line of coaching, when a person them says they're ready to do the dating thing, are you doing a one-on-one, or are you doing both of them at the same time, or how do you operate when you set your practice up?
Yes. So for me, my area of expertise is working with one person in the relationship. And it really is a selfish reason. It's not for the benefit of the world. It's for me. What I've found is working with couples many times is one person who's driven, who wants to be there, another person who's just going along for the ride, either because they said that they would, because they want to get their partner off their back, because they have a lot to lose in a divorce. They're like, let me just suck it up and try. I don't want to work with anybody who does not want to be there. If you are hesitant, then that is not my desire. So in order for me to be able to be happy in my work, I only work with one person. The person who booked me is the person I work with, because if they're the ones who signed up, it's because they're the ones who want to make a change. And I don't want to have to drag anybody across the picket line. Like,
But wouldn't that be kind of like, and I hear you say selfish part, that's like a conflict of interest on the other person's behalf. I'm just saying, because it's like, okay, you're going to this therapy, but I don't know what's going on with you when you're there. And then when you come back with something like, whoa, like, where's all this coming from? Can we go together? So therefore I can shed my own light with you in this to be a true committed relationship thing. So sometimes that, I think, have you ever encountered that while you're doing your coaching?
So I have not. However, your argument is super clear. I get it. And it makes sense, right? So what my recommendation would be, the people who come to me that is just one person in the relationship, is because they already recognize that they are more of the problem than anything. Gotcha. So they already have come to the realization that, my husband is a good man, but I know that I'm still harping on the fact that he cheated on me 20 years ago. I know that I'm like, they're already coming in knowing that they are relatively the problem. So that's why I'm able to help them to get to a resolution. Now, if both parties are equally at fault for the failing of the relationship, or at least they don't have the insight to know who's at fault, then they need to go to a couples counselor, because the couples counselor will work with the two of them. But anybody who clicks on my link is going to know it's me. Like, I never worked my daddy issues out, and now I'm holding this poor guy accountable, and he is a good man. Like, even in the language on my way, like, you got a good man, and you know that you're messing it up. So it takes some level of accountability in the forefront to even work with me.
Well, I think there's some technical difficulties with the questions and stuff inside our group tonight, but it's actually streaming through YouTube and on our pages. And Dr. Harris had said that there's so many people don't truly utilize the therapy to the best of their ability. And also, she said that you're dropping it. I'll give you that. It appears that Black women are using dating coaches more than ever now. But Black men are not. Why are Black men not utilizing it?
So I'll tell you this. One, she's right that people are using coaches more, right? And I think that that's a good idea. If there's any goal that you have that you can't reach, if it's a fitness goal, if it's a financial goal, it's a business goal, and you're invested in it and you want it to do well and you can't figure it out, then there's no shame in hiring somebody. But let me tell you, the impression may be that more women are reaching out for help. But just because men are not verbalizing it doesn't mean that they're not getting it. And I think especially in the Black community, when there's already like this negative connotation attached to therapy and any kind of mental health services, just because we don't hear it doesn't mean that it's not happening. You know what I'm saying? I think that there are lots of guys who are seeking help and you would never know. You would think that they're going to the gym Thursdays at 7:00 and they're going to their therapy sessions in their car on Zoom. So I hear what you're saying, but I don't want to be presumptuous, because I already know that in the mental health space, there's already this layer of shame, which is getting better. I'm really happy about in the Black community. So just because we think that they're not going for help doesn't mean that they're not. And I can tell you that I know both male and female coaches that exclusively work with men and they have business. So I know that men are going. Just because they're not saying it doesn't mean it's not happening.
We had definitely addressed that on our prior shows with mental health and expressing the need for Black men to dig deep down within themselves, and it's sometimes, and whatever's hurting or ailing, bring it out. Because when you bring it out, it's less stressful.
Yes.
We hold a lot of stuff. We hold a lot in as Black men, period, for just being Black in America, first. And then when we go and deal with the problems that we cause, but we blame other people for our causing, that's even double or more the stress.
Yeah.
So when we come together and we have our show, and I'm so grateful for you to say that, because we've had guests on our show who has done such dynamic jobs about exposing that and bringing that to the forefront. And we've had numerous of Black men comment about their issues that actually spoke out for the first time, like, yo, this is my first time. I never heard it explained or talked to me in this manner, and I feel more comfortable. So thank you for bringing that out, because that's very important.
Absolutely.
Now I have a question. Now, why do you think that there is a stigma whereas Black men, to make Black men not want to go to therapy or might not look to outside to get help? Because we go through things in relationship as well, you know, or even learn how to maintain a relationship, because majority of individuals that I know grew up looking at relationship like a game. Everybody want to be a player. Some call themselves coaches, some call themselves managers or whatever. So when it's time to settle down, we all need help to try to learn how to maintain a relationship. So why you think that it would be difficult for men to be transparent about needing that type of help?
Yeah, absolutely. So the stigma attached to mental health services and therapy overall is a stigma that is related to the fact that there's just this idea that something must be wrong with you. You're crazy, right? Like if you need a shrink, they used to call it, right? You need a shrink. You need someone to go into your brain and help you figure something out. Then something's wrong with you. Why can't you figure it out on your own? When we talk about physical health, if I were to break my arm or my leg, there would be nothing to talk about. I need to go to the hospital and get a doctor who's going to set it and give me a cast and check me out in a couple of weeks, and then it'll heal and it'll be all right. That like there's no shame in me being physically hurt, because that's beyond my control. And it's obvious, right? It's dangling, it's broken, it hurts, I'm crying, I'm in a splint. The doctor sees it, it's on the x-ray, it's undeniable. But when we talk about mental health, right? So physical health versus mental health, it's something that can't be seen. So it's hard for someone to say that they have something or they don't have something, they struggle with something or they don't struggle with something, because the expectation is that it's not physically painful, like a broken arm or a broken leg. So why can't you just push through? You lost a loved one. Everybody dies. Get over it. Why can't you just push through? Your dad wasn't around. Your mom. Ain't nobody got a dad in the hood. That's regular. Why can't you just push through? Right? Like that's like the idea. So since we can't see the pain, like a broken arm or a broken leg, then it seems like, why can't you push through? If you can't push through, then something's wrong with you. That's the stigma that's been attached to mental health overall. But I think that in the Black community specifically, our Black men are so much more masculine, right? That so it's even more of men should be able to push through. Big boys don't cry. Big boys don't cry, right? Like that's the idea that boys shouldn't have emotion, that men shouldn't have emotion. And so when you have hyper masculine men like our Black men, which I don't think is a bad thing, don't get me wrong, but when you have that hyper masculinity, then it's going to be, I can't cry, I can't complain, I can't, unless my arm is hanging off the bone, I can't complain, because the expectation is that I'm strong. And if I go to and ask somebody for help, then that is a symbol that I'm weak. That's the vision. That's the misconception.
Now, do you feel that the masculine scenario or there's an issue where a man can't cry? You know what I'm saying? That he can't expose himself to become, you know what I'm saying, balanced and being logical and emotional all at the same time? Is there a scenario where we can get to that point? Because how are we able to balance our emotions without going through depression and things of that nature? Because that takes us through in depression. We start internalizing everything.
Right. So, I mean, I would love for men to be able to express their emotions more. But one thing I do want to say is that men are emotional. I just want to correct that. Like we always think of, women are emotional and then men are logical. Men are emotional too. The emotions just aren't the same emotions that you see that women express. Y'all being New Yorkers, just somebody look at you wrong is, yo, what up? Like I'm angry. That's an emotion, right? Somebody step on your Timbs on the train, you spaz out. That's an emotion. You punching a wall. That's an emotion. You yelling at somebody. Men experience emotions, and they're allowed to express some emotions, the negative ones. when they're angry, when they're frustrated. It's acceptable for a man to punch a hole in the wall or to fight because somebody not looking at you in the right way, right? So men do experience and express emotions. The emotions we're talking about specifically is usually like sadness or despair, which is attached with tears, right? Now, your question is, do I think that we'll get to a place where men are allowed to express those emotions? Not in our generation. I don't think so. I don't think in our generation, but I would say in the next generation, I don't know what they are, Gen Zers, whatever the hell they are. I think that they are a more expressive of those emotions than we are. Now, I would also argue in a different conversation for a different day that maybe they complain us a little too much, but still, I think the generation that's coming up, they are different and they're changing the mold. They're not allowing their bosses and supervisors and jobs to run them. They are expressing the way that they feel, that they're not holding back. They're not letting their elders talk to them any kind of way simply because they're an elder. Not to be disrespectful, but I'm also an adult too. You know what I'm saying? So I think that they're changing it. And our generation, us three on this screen, no, I don't think we'll get to a point where our generation will be able to men will truly be able to express all emotion. But I think we will get there. I just don't know if we are going to see it.
Well, I look at, because most men base their relationship off of 90s and 80s love songs, right? How they're so expressive and how they begging and how they pleading, but can't express themselves in reality because you use those songs to start dating or meeting females or whatever the case may be. You want to pattern whatever your conversation toward the woman. Now, when it comes to getting to a point where we're feeling hurt, unless she's going to leave, I guess once she leave, get ready to pack her things and leave, I guess that's when all the tears or whatever comes out. You know what I'm saying? You start begging, but where can we get some balance for us? That's the only thing, like men in general, not just, you know what I'm saying, our generation, just men in general, because like even with the young guys, the respect that for the opposite sex isn't there. You know what I'm saying? The respect isn't there. So when they do get in a relationship, it's like really painful to watch sometimes. Not that it's physical, but just the language alone is painful. It's real crazy. Like you watch how they talk to each other and everything is bruh. And I'm like, it's kind of scary, at least for me, outside looking in.
So I would say it starts with platforms like this. It starts with the barbershop talk. It starts with the men talking to men. And I don't think it's anything that's disrespectful, but again, we were talking about like same gender child to parent. Like you are a representation of who I'm going to be. So I'm going to look to you. I think that young men are going to be more inclined to listen to older men about the way that they should be talking and treating women. And the same thing, younger girls are going to look up to older women and say, this is, it just makes sense. Like we're going to listen to the people who look like us, who behave like us. So I think it starts with the private conversations, the barbershop talk. I think there's also some elements in our music. And I hesitate in saying that because I grew up on hardcore 90s hip hop, like, right? So I get it, but there's some people who can differentiate between the two. Like I could listen to Biggie and know that I'm still not gonna do nothing crazy. With some folks can't. It's in our music, so we have to be mindful of the messages that we're putting out there. Social media is tough. Social media is putting a lot of pressure on our young men, our young women to look a certain way and to behave a certain way. If she's not giving it up on the first day, she's wasting your time. If he's not flying me out, then he's not buying me a bag, he's wasting my time. So it's all about the messaging, our public messaging through music and socials, but private conversations, young man to older man, young woman to younger woman, to talk about how we can change the way that we function in our relationships.
One of the things that I see, though, is that when we talk about this, we talk about really, really, where's the root of it all? The root starts at home. The main part of this starts at home, from what we're being taught to how to act at home and abroad within our own home, and how we are to act outside, how we were taught at a young age of us to respect our elders, how we were taught then to always open the door for a lady, walk on the outside of a lady,
Yes.
show a sign of respect and protection.
Mm-hmm.
So we don't have much of that in today's time, because a lot of the men that was taught that, unfortunately, because of the way society's system has driven us out from the homes to be locked up in the penal penitentiaries and stuff like that in the prisons, has removed the father from the true fatherhood and allowed state and federal to become a head of a family instead of the man being the head of the family.
Yeah.
And made women, our women, socially, where they say they independent, but they truly dependent upon government status to make themselves feel like they are elite and sometimes above. So what we have to do is break that cycle. We have to break that chain. And the only way to do that is, like you talked about, first of all, the small talk, the big brother, little brother syndrome. Let's do that. You know, the old school barbers. I mean, I'm an old school cat as far as I look at now, because I know what it was for me growing up in my household. We couldn't do nothing. My old man was real strict. You understand what I'm saying? And when we was able to break out, we broke out wildly. Of course, they always say PK kids are wild. Yeah, we was a product of that environment, but yet we also had morals and teachings to follow to make us become better and make, you know, so when we made the mistakes, we understood that as we got older, we see the lessons that was taught to us, how we want to pass it down traditionally. But so much has changed, because like they said, there ain't no more big mamas. Big mamas are in the club with the granddaughters.
Yeah.
Why? That shouldn't be. But that's what the society is setting for us to say, this is the new normal.
Yes.
And it's nothing normal about that, because we're losing our roots and foundations, and we are losing our children to a system of corruption.
But can I tell you, though, I really do believe that there is a slow but steady change that's happening with fathers being reintroduced and becoming more involved. Now, they may not be in the home, right? Or they may not be married to the women, but there is this new level of shame that's being attached to fathers. Like, you're not spending time with your kids, and you're not making sure that they're good. Like, they're like those who are in their 20s and 30s, they're starting to shift that. They're not doing that anymore. Like, I'm really seeing a change where dads are being involved more than ever. Now, the ones who may be involved in activities that get them locked up, if they're not physically here, they're not here, there's nothing we could do about that. But the ones who are here, they're changing the narrative. Folks in their 20s and 30s are changing the narrative, and they are actively being present way more than folks who may be in their 50s or 60s. And I think also that they're experiencing what it was like to not have their dad, right? Because if you're 30, your dad might be in his 50s and 60s. You didn't have your dad like, nah, I'm not making that mistake. I want to make sure that I'm active in my child's life. So I do think that there is a shift that's beginning to happen with our 20s and our 30-year-olds. They are way more active than the 55, 60-year-old dads.
Okay. Now, Dr. Angela Harris put a question up that many men and women are ghosting folks. And on social media, people are sharing how ghosting has damaged their ego psychologically well-being. What's behind the ghosting? How should it be handled?
Yep. So for those who don't know, ghosting is the practice of cutting someone off that you've been seeing without any explanation. No phone call, no text message, no interaction. You went on a date and you never hear from them again, right? So that's like a ghost disappears. Okay. So it is terrible, and I do not recommend it. The only circumstance, which is a dramatic one, is if someone was disgusting to you, like rude, nasty, cursed you out, abandoned you on the side of the road. Then of course I'm not going to call you to say, how are you? Let's go on a date number 2. Other than that, if you find that someone is an inappropriate match, you've been on some dates, you've had some conversations, the least you can do is send them a text message and say, hey, I enjoyed our time together, but I don't think that we're a good match, and I wish you all the best. So to answer your question, Angela, what I would say is it's a disgusting practice. It should not happen, only in the fewest of cases. And in the majority of the time, you should just express to the person, I had a good time, even if you didn't. I had a good time, but I don't think that we're a good match, and I wish you all the best moving forward. I will tell you 9 times out of 10, the person who you're telling that to, either 1, feels the same way, or 2, their ego's a little hurt, and they'll just let you go and say, oh yeah, I felt the same way. Wish you all the best. They're not going to curse you out. They're not going to make a big scene. They're not 9 times out of 10, they felt it, or they'll just go along with it because it eases their ego than to say, oh no, I thought we were great and what's wrong. Most of the time people won't challenge. The way you do it is don't ghost. It's unnecessary and it's hurtful. It hurts way more than just saying, hey, I don't think that we're a good match. I wish you all the best.
Why do you think that people aren't adult and transparent enough to just say, it's better off that we can be friends? This is not working for either of us, because both parties know when it's not working. When this is not a good date, this person is uncomfortable or whatever the case may be. So why can't people be just that transparent?
I think it's just easier. It's easier to block, and especially in social media times. Like when I got my first cell phone, there wasn't no option to go into the settings and block a phone number. If somebody had my number, they could ring my phone down. I would have to call Sprint to say, this number is harassing me. Can you block them? It's not just an easy, I could just go right in my iPhone and block whoever. I could go on my social media and block whoever. So I think that technology has made it easy for us to just block folks and to ignore them instead of just taking it face on. And people are going to take the easy route, whatever that route may be. As technology develops, as society develops, whatever is easiest is the route that we would take. I could have came out to Far Rockaway and did the episode with you, but technology has allowed us to get on this here platform and do it from home remotely, right? So whatever's easy is the route that folks are going to take. But it's not right, it's not nice, and we shouldn't do it.
Also, when it comes down to the passive aggressive type of thing that's going on more so nowadays, whereas individuals aren't as transparent or honest with each other, and it's easier to hide behind your phone or social media, like you're saying. How can we learn someone behind the computer or learn someone behind the phone? Because a lot of times they're FaceTiming more than they actually spending time with one another.
You can't. Well, you can. It just will take much longer. I don't recommend it. I highly recommend that you get outside. Get outside. And especially the fact that we're, for the most part through COVID, there's no reason why we shouldn't be getting outside. I need to see you. I want to see your facial expressions. I want to see how you react when we're outdoors dealing with different circumstances. Somebody running the light, they cut you off. How do you behave? Are you hopping out and carrying on and making a scene and putting us in danger? Are you know what I'm saying? I want to know how you function when we at the restaurant, you get the wrong order. Do you curse the waiter out because they made a simple mistake? Or I want to see how you behave. And so I highly recommend that folks get outside. Get outside. And it doesn't have to be that you're spending a whole lot of money. And the weather in New York today was amazing. We could have taken a nice walk in the park, got some ice cream and chilled. But behind the screen is going to take so much longer to get to know the person, and you're not going to get as accurate of a report than you would if you were in person.
Exactly. Right. With that is even like people feel like they done built a relationship with you over years because you are social media friends. And they think they be so hurt if you don't like or love something or you don't acknowledge certain things. Like, how can we move back into the reality, of the realm of reality with one another?
That's not gonna happen. I mean, virtual reality. I forget what's the new thing that they talking about with these like virtual worlds, and you could like buy property and build a business. It's over. We're not moving in that direction. We are not moving in that direction. And I'll tell you this, which might be a little dramatic, but I think the only way we would move in that direction, it would have to be like a cataclysmic event, like what was it, like the year 2000 when we thought it was Y2K, like it has to be something that's dramatic. But the direction that we're going in, we're becoming more separated. I just went to write something the other day, like an application, and my handwriting was terrible because I haven't picked up a pen and written on pieces of paper in so long. Everything is on the laptop or it's with my thumbs on the phone. We are getting away from that human experience every single day. And I don't think we're going in any other direction, but more away from each other.
Wow. I want to apologize if it looks like that we're looking down. Is that we're having an issue with individuals on Facebook making comments. So they're coming to my phone. So I'm trying to get all the questions and everything together. So when I'm jumping out with them, pardon me for that. I don't want you to think that we wasn't engaging.
Before we go to the next question, let's do this real quick because time will be short. So we want to make sure that all our listeners and followers can get in touch with you or for any time, any updates that you may need. So where can they find you at, and how can they reach out and touch you if they need for the coaching?
Yes, absolutely. So my main favorite platform is Instagram. So you can always go to my Instagram page. I do live streams, Q&A. I post multiple times a day, DM all day long. And that's Align with Alison. It's at the bottom of the screen, ALIGN with Alison, ALISON. Then I also have my website, alignwithallison.com. I have my Facebook, but Instagram is really my go-to place, and I have plenty of interaction. You can get a little bit of free advice. You can also book a session if you're looking for some support in that area as well.
Definitely. I have been checking out her Instagram. That's how I reached out to her. Instagram is amazing. A lot of the help and a lot of the conversation pieces that she have on her Instagram is very useful. For those of you who are on Instagram, make sure that you check her out and check in with her. Also, too, that she's accessible. She's in the New York area. She's in Brooklyn. And so book a session. Make sure you book a session because you're going to need the help. It's getting Christmas time. It's getting New Year's. It's getting Valentine's Day. You know what I mean? We just had Swedish Day. And for all the men who don't know what Swedish Day, that was supposed to be your Valentine. So if you didn't get anything for Swedish Day, you know, it definitely will come back.
I didn't even know about Swedish Day. I need to look it up. I thought the Valentine's Day for men was the next day.
No, Valentine for men is Swedish Day.
I need to look that up. See, now I didn't drop the ball. Look at me. I didn't drop the ball. Thank you for putting me on. Yep.
But, you know, especially during the holiday time when you're talking about dating and things of that nature. So, you know, I know a lot of people is finna break up when it gets close to Christmas. Just know you're going to need the coach. All right.
Right. So if you're the person who's doing the breaking up, right? And if you're doing it because it's Christmas, I'm thinking one of two things. Either you don't want to buy the person a gift, which I hope that's not what it is, or the holidays does apply another level of pressure. The expectation is during the holidays, we're spending more time together. We're getting more serious. We're meeting family, right? And then maybe you've come to the realization that this person isn't the one, and that's why you're ending it during the holidays. And I get that. So that needs to be some work on. I need you to do a better job of assessing earlier in the summertime, so you're not wasting folks' time in the wintertime, right? And if you're looking for partnership, it can be a little difficult during the holidays as well for a couple of reasons. One, budget, like folks are buying gifts, so they might not be able to be in a position to date as frequently, right? Or number two, they're just hesitant, again, because they don't want to rush things. I start dating this girl in November. Is the expectation she's meeting my grandma for Thanksgiving and spending the night for New Year's. So people are sometimes hesitant to date during the holidays because they're concerned about what that might mean and the additional pressure. That's reasonable. I think you said so eloquently earlier about boundaries. You let people know,
right?
Hey, we go on this date. Oh, what you doing for Thanksgiving? I'm going to my mother's house. Aren't you going to your mother's house? You know what I'm saying? Those boundaries, because what you're not going to do is allow anybody to pressure you to go faster than where you're ready to go.
You use the word expectation a lot. I wanted to ask you about that. How do you feel about that word when dealing with relationships, especially when you hear them, they say, well, she expects me to do this, or I expect him to do that. How do you feel when it comes to using or having that word expectation?
So the problem with expectations is that many times they're not articulated before, right? So I expect him to pay all the bills. Okay. Did you have that conversation before he moved in? Right? I have an expectation that she cooks every night. Did you have the conversation before that she either can cook or desires to cook, or have you put her in a position where she has the time to cook, right? Like, so the problem with expectations many times is that there's something in the air with expectation, the definition that kind of alludes to that's just what I thought would happen without any conversation and any confirmation beforehand. So you are at fault. That's on you. Like, you cannot expect folks to just know and read your mind and just figure out, well, obviously I'm a man and she's a woman, so obviously this is the way things go. That doesn't work in everybody's household. You have to lay out what you're looking for respectfully. It's not going to be if you're not paying all my bills and no, it don't have to be nasty. It doesn't have to, it doesn't have to be like that. And if you're not letting me lead as the man in this household, then it doesn't have to be nasty, but you have to let folks know. I come from a household where my dad took care of the finances, and that's what I value. What are your thoughts on the roles of men and women in relationships? I come from a household where my father was the leader of the household, and that's the kind of household that I want to create, right? Like I want to be the head. So what are your thoughts? And when the beautiful thing is when you have this conversation early in the game, you have so much less to lose. If I meet you and we're on our first date, and then I say, this is what I'm looking for. This is what my experience has been. This is what I want to emulate. And that's not for you, it's cool. But when a year later, I'm already pregnant, and then now we're talking about what the expectations are, what the desires are, what the standards are. Now you're in trouble and you did it to yourself. So have those conversations earlier. If someone is not a good match for you, it's okay. And then you don't ghost them. After that combo, if it's not a good match for you, if you say, oh, you know what, she wants too much, it's okay. That's your right. He wants too much. That's okay. That's your right. That I really enjoyed the time that we had together, but I think that we're looking for two different things. And I wish you all the best moving forward. That's it. Nobody's wrong. A man who wants his wife to be blank is not wrong. A woman who wants a husband to be blank is not wrong. That's what she wants. She should go look for it. That's what he wants. He should go look for it. Whereas it's wrong when you don't express it early and you expect folks to just know and you expect folks to just do. That's where it's a problem.
Now, within the dating process, isn't the boundaries and expectations should be put on the table within the first 3 or 4 dates?
Yep.
So people can get a good understanding of what they're looking at?
I would even do it earlier than that. I would do it because I would imagine a timeline. We meet, we exchange numbers, we talk on the phone for a week or two, depending on how much time we have, how busy folks are, and then we would go on our first date. So if we've been talking on the phone for 2 weeks, then on the phone, I'm telling you about, this is my experience, and my dad wasn't in the household. My mom really struggled. And so I don't want a replication of that for my life. I want equal partnership. I want blah, blah, blah. I want to make sure that I have children in wedlock, whatever my thing is, right? I'm expressing out on the phone. This is before you spend $1, like potentially before anyone spends $1, before I go get my hair done, before you looking up restaurants, like I want to know the basics of what you're looking for. Then over time, once we're both clear on the basics and we're okay with it, then we're going to see whether or not we're a good personality match. But we shouldn't be going on date 4, might be a month and a half, 2 months in the game.
Right.
And then now you telling me that you want to wait until marriage before you're intimate. You should have told me that 2 months ago. Now you tell me that you have a child, like it's super important information. Absolutely not. We need to make this stuff clear. Potentially by the end of the first date, your basic desires should be clear. Then after that, if we both want the same thing, we continue to see each other and see if it's a good personality match, things of that nature.
Now, when you're dating someone and you have a child, how soon or not that you introduce the person to your child? When do that, come into the dating? Because of course, a lot of times individuals are single parents and they have children, especially if they acknowledge the fact that they have children to the person that they're dating. So when do you involve the child into that?
Yep, that's an excellent question. It's delicate. It depends on a couple of factors. First, it depends on the relationship that you have with the child's other parent, right? Sometimes some folks have an agreement that says, both of us, we're not going to introduce anybody to our child unless we've been seeing them for 6 months. Or they might have an agreement that says, I'm not going to introduce anybody to the child until you meet them, right? So there may be an understanding amongst the parents about introductions that might have to go through that process first. And I think that there should be a conversation between the parents about, hey, we're now both single. We're no longer seeing each other. What kinds of boundaries, what kinds of rules and regulations do you think that we should follow? Because obviously the both of us are going to start dating again. So the parents need to establish that first, right? Then once they've established that and that's been met, so it's 6 months, or I want to meet her first, or whatever the thing is that the parents figure out. Once that's been met, the next piece is going to be, do you seriously see yourself with this person?
Right.
If you know that this is just some fun, some date, some vacation, a trip, whatever, yeah, just something in the in-between time, then this is not an appropriate meet.
Right.
Like, they should not be meeting. But if you say to yourself, I'm not in love yet, I don't get to the point of love. Because if you get to the point of love and then your kid hates this person, you're in trouble, right? So don't get to the point of love. But if it's to the point of care, like, I like you, so I hang out with you. I care about you, so I want more, and then I love you, then you too far gone. So get to the point of care. I can see myself with this person. We want the same things. We get along so well. We're just a great match. I want things to progress, and you've met whatever the standards are that you have with the other parent. Then it's time for a meeting. Don't go with because you could fall in and out of very quickly, and don't go with love, because if they are like vinegar and water, what the hell are you gonna do?
You know, Alison, I hate the fact that our hour is up, and it's crazy because I'm starting to get questions from the Spotify, and I got questions over here. And Big Chief from Coney Island said to say, "Peace, how you doing? Social media is too easy to be taken out of context. Face to face is the best for you."
Yep.
And that's coming out of Coney Island, New York. I guess everybody knew you was checking in today. You had the whole Brooklyn in the building. Shut down our whole StreamYard where can't nobody else make comments or anything. So, you know what I'm saying? Brooklyn is definitely in the building. Absolutely. You know what I'm saying? East Medina's in the building. Medina's in the building. Yes, Brooklyn's in the building. But Ms. Allison, also, again, make sure that people understand how they can get you. Can they get you on the Spotify? Can they get you on the Amazon? Do you have a YouTube channel?
I do have a YouTube. I'm not that great at upkeeping it. I got to be honest. If you want to connect with me, it's Instagram. I'm in those DMs all day, every day. I'm in those DMs. I'm in the comments. I respond to everybody. I don't think that I'm too good, and respond respectfully to even folks disagree. So that's the best way. Or my website, alignwithallison.com. Instagram, Align with Alison. YouTube, Align with Alison. Twitter, Align with Alison. But Instagram is really the best. Email, info@alignwithallison. I'm there.
Also, too, I want to thank you for your time and coming on. And also, too, I want to see if future we can bring you back, because I think that there's a lot of things that we left on the table for our audience. And if you will, you know what I'm saying, grace us again with your presence and come back on in a future time where we could do a part 2, because trust me, I can't tell all these questions, right? And hopefully we have all the technical difficulties worked out.
Yes,
but it was
sir.
a beautiful show. Thank you for coming on, and greatly appreciate it.
Get back to loving that beautiful baby.
Yeah, I just put it down. That's why I was running late. I'm like, I'm coming. Just give me a minute. Put it down.
Just give us 2 minutes so we can work out how we can get a copy of the show over to you.
Absolutely.
And Kay, you know what time it is, bro.
Absolutely. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, we want to thank you all for tuning in and chiming with us right here on the Real2reel360. We want to thank our special guest again, Align with Alison, the dating coach specialist in the building. She's done a marvelous job. I appreciate you. And definitely we're looking forward for you to come back. Listen, you don't have a home away from home. You have a home right here.
That's right.
On Real2reel360, all right? This is from on the whole circle, from Brooklyn around to Queens to Long Island, all the love is there. You know what I mean? Yeah. So we just gonna pull you in the third reserve back and gonna close out the show, and I'll talk to you about getting you the copy of this show right here. Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of my co-host with the most, my brother in God, Jahshamel, aka Mr. PhD, we want to give you all a high salute of love, peace, and happiness. And to all the 5% nation of gods and earth, you know where our heart is. Our heart is with you all. You know what I'm saying? When we all gather, we see one another. We see the God within, and we see Father's teachings immaculate, because Allah's word manifests each and every day. All right. Peace, Len. Love you. We see you, sis. It's all good. We'll catch y'all when we see who we got coming up next before we bounce out.
Oh, we have Lynn. We have Lynn next. And then we also have Tony Terry coming up Thursday. And it's going to be a beautiful show this week. We started out great, with Alison. So that just set the tone for everything else. Absolutely. Tomorrow we're going to we're going to speak about no means no. We're going to talk about women that's dealing with date rape and sexual abuse. So tune in.
All right. You've heard it right here, ladies and gentlemen. You can only get it right here on the Real2reel360. We will see you when we see you. And peace and blessings. We will be outie 5,000.
Peace.
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 This is Jahshamel Law, Mr.
When it comes to the end of the show, and now I want to take the time out and thank our guests for coming on. Also, too, we want to make sure that y'all listening and subscribing, and tell a friend and tell a friend, and keep sharing, because we're going to keep bringing y'all the real content. You know what I mean? So, DJ K-Wise, brother, take us up out of here, son. Peace.
I want to give a big shout out to the nation of all the workers, to all the human family, I say, to all the wild those who continue watch and listen to the show, so many times we come on. I give a big shout out, love, peace, and happiness. The future man, woman, and child of the human, not first. It's time for us to disperse. We bring the best, not the worst. We thank you once again for tuning in to the Real360. We bring a friend to hit that like and subscribe, so we continue to grow to bring more knowledge and wisdom to you upon our show. You make it possible for us to do what we do.